Just one more step, and it would finally be over. My body leaned forward as my arms reached out to feel the air one last time. I stepped out, closing my eyes, and waited for my head to meet the sidewalk. Not many people can step off the ledge of a building and live to tell the story, but I can. Ever since I entered high school, I've been told that I look too boyish for a girl. Well, I guess that makes sense, because I am transgender. I don't identify as a girl. It should be pretty simple, but no matter how I explained it to my classmates, they refused to accept me for who I am. On top of that, I was quite skinny and unsociable, so I wasn't in any way, shape, or form fit to defend myself. But this was all tolerable, as long as she was in class with me, the girl that I have a crush on. I remember our first conversation started in physics, when we found out we shared a love for the stars and the planets. I remember the way her eyes sparkled when she got excited. It would chase all my worries away. For the first time in so long, I felt like I finally found company, and I had never felt happier. Very soon, I realized I was in love with this person. So a few days later, after school, I told her everything, hoping that she would reciprocate my feelings. Instead, she stared at me with these sympathetic eyes that read, "I never saw you as more than just a friend." That silence she gave me was like shards of glass piercing straight into my heart. It was a silence that reduced us from being friends to mere classmates. A painful silence that made me finally admit what I suspected all along. She never accepted me for who I was. Soon, she distanced herself from me for her other friends, and I went back to being the lonely boy trapped inside the body of a girl. I thought I wouldn't mind being alone. After all, I had a lifetime of practice. But deep down, I know I still wished somebody would see me as anything other than the person on the lowest level of social hierarchy. I was tired of being judged and not fitting into the standards for boys or girls. Tired of pretending that I wasn't hurting. So one night, I locked myself in my room and I did something that I thought could relieve me. With trembling hands, I opened my drawer and took a box cutter. For obvious reasons about my appearance and what I was doing to myself, I became an easy target for the tough guys. I never fought back, but I also didn't have proper defense. So for the entire semester, it was a brutal game of hide and seek. I wanted to tell my parents, but they had more than enough on their plate. The teachers were of no help either, turning a blind eye instead of helping me when they needed to. I was chased in and around school by both boys and girls. It would always be a combination of the worst things you could imagine. Soon, it wasn't enough anymore. I needed something more. The next day, when I went to school, I wrote a note and placed it on my desk. I sprinted out to the nearest empty classroom, the science lab. I opened the window and stepped out onto the ledge. I glanced down and saw nothing but concrete ground and people who now resembled ants. I sat on the ledge for a solid 3 hours, during which the principal, the police, and the paramedic team arrived. Where were they when I needed them? I remember hearing them yelling, "Think about your future. This isn't the way." Well, it's all too late now, isn't it? I took a tiny step forward, and right away, the gravity dragged my legs down while my arms flailed up. I remember feeling every moment in slow motion as the wind battered my face and my body. My throat was constricted and my head was tilted toward the rapidly approaching concrete ground. What became clear to me in that moment was that I still wanted to live. I wanted to make things better, but there was no turning back the clock. I shut my eyes in despair and I knew the end was coming. Falling off 3 stories wasn't the scariest part. It was the pain that came after. It was the kind that came in intensifying waves. I was shaking and sweating while my lungs desperately gasped for air. Tears fell down my face as memories of the times I was laughed at and given a rough time rushed back into my mind like water into a sinking ship. My vision was getting blurry, but at the corner of my eye, I caught my dad dropping to his knees, sobbing uncontrollably. But before I could even react, everything went black. Am I still alive? All I heard was soft, melodic ringing sounds. The noise eventually became clear as machines beeping. As I looked around, I noticed I was in a neck brace and a backboard, while my foot and my upper body were bandaged in compression wraps. I saw my dad had fallen asleep, clutching my hands tightly. But the moment he woke up and saw my eyes open, tears rolled down his cheeks as he struggled to say, "I love you." I finally broke down and cried with him. The doctor later came to tell us that I had fractured my neck, my foot, my wrist, and my back, damaging the nerves of my spinal cord. "You have a 25% chance of ever walking again." I needed to get better for myself, for my family, and for my future, so I told the doctors that I would learn how to walk, from scratch, whatever it took. After being bedridden for 2 weeks, I was finally out of the hospital, and for months, I would go back every week to attend my checkup sessions. I insisted on a walking frame instead of a wheelchair because I was determined to practice walking whenever I could. So, with the help of the doctors and physiotherapists, after months of practicing, I could finally stand on my own. Fast forward 6 years, I have now been practicing walking every day. Although walking is still complicated for me, I have gained a lot of wisdom into living a positive life. I've learned the importance of standing up for yourself and for others. My past will always be a weight that I have to carry, but despite everything that has happened in my life, I am just happy that I made it to my 20th birthday, alive.